in the American, the solution. Certainly.
All right, being 5 o'clock, I'm going to call a meeting of the Plan Commission in the City of Delavan to order as a roll call to take.
Yes.
The roll call has been taken and the meeting posted accurately. We'll move forward to item 2, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 5th, 2025 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 5th, 2025. Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any comments or additions concerning the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 3, do we have any communications? We do have one follow-on from that is noted in the minutes from May 5th, which was a request to add smart growth agenda on a future meeting agenda. I would encourage us before the half year is over from the beginning of the meeting in May to add that item as we get an agenda that has room in it. Okay, so I'll leave that to your discretion, but we see that. We'll move to item number 4, public comment, review and possible recommendation on Mill Group Holdings. Item 4.1 is a public hearing on a request to consider a planned infill development amendment to the official zoning map for step 4 precise implementation plan for the property located at 1738 East Geneva Street between the Interstate and Lakeside Boulevard, part of tax parcel XA 4871-2 in the manufacturing light zoning district to allow for an indoor commercial development with in-vehicle sales or service drive-through the applicant Mill Group Holdings. Now it's the opening of the public hearing and ask staff first and then the applicant to speak to the commission concerning the application.
Right, good evening.
Jack.
Right, so this is an application for a drive-through coffee business. This is in the former Geneva Lakes Kennel Club area, when that whole area is zone planned infill development. And so before you this evening is a PIP, precise implementation plan, to allow for this development to occur. Also on this agenda is a CSM to actually create the lot that the business will be located on. This drive-through coffee shop is considered an in-vehicle sales and service land use, which is a conditional use within that planned infill development. This is something that's a little new to this type of business. It's new to Delavan. It's a single-story coffee shop with the standalone building, but there's no indoor seating. It's just basically a drive-through oriented building. There's also a cooler building next to it that they use to store various things that they can explain to you. And then they have 2 drive-through lanes and 1 pass-through lane. And unlike a typical drive-through like you would see at Burger King just to the west, they don't have menu boards and speakers, but rather they have staff out there with iPads taking orders directly from the cars and handing drinks to people as those drinks are ready. So the applicant is here and can kind of speak to the different nuts and bolts of the operation and how that works. Because it is such a small building and such a limited amount of development, it really had no problem meeting all of our zoning standards such as setbacks, landscape surface ratio, etc. The primary access point for the site will be via Freedom Drive to the south. There's also cross access to the west, 2 cross access points to the west for the Burger King. They will be proposing new landscaping consistent with the city's standards. What I like to see that they have trees proposed on 3 street frontages, which will be great. And they also have arborvitae screening the waste, the dumpster and the dumpster enclosure. In terms of parking, because they don't have any interior space, the parking requirement for this business is only 11 parking spaces. They're proposing 20 parking spaces, so well above our minimum requirement, which should be adequate for customers and for staff. And then they've included building elevations. In the meeting packet, you'll see it's a combination of kind of a modular brick siding in 2 different shades, some decorative trims in blue and gray. And then the applicant will request a sign permit at a later date to get their signs approved. The proposed development is consistent with the GDP that was approved several years ago for this property. So staff does recommend, I should note that there are no zoning flexibilities requested. They do meet all of our base zoning requirements. Staff does recommend approval. There are conditions listed in the staff report. These are kind of our typical bevy of conditions when we have a PIP, nothing really unusual that you haven't seen before. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Jackie before we get the applicant? I have one. Okay, the cross, access between the Burger King and the proposed site, was that part of the GDP?
I believe so. You happen to know that? I believe so.
It was shown on the GP, yes.
Okay. And so there were no conditions by Burger King in terms of people using their property as a drive-through that were open. Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Jackie? Okay. If the applicant would like to come up and introduce us to the concept and the application, we'd appreciate it. And please let us know who you are.
Hi, I'm Corbin Turlip with Seven Brew.
Hi.
Corbin, yep, Corbin Turlip. So myself and 2 other business partners are franchisees of Seven Brew. Tommy Pennington is my other business partner, who's our main owner operator, born and raised in Wisconsin. So I'm here to answer any questions about Seven Brew itself. And then this is Eric Druskowski, who's with Excel Engineering. So.
Yes, Eric Dreskowski with Excel Engineering, 100 Camelot Drive, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm the civil engineer and site designer for the project. I've worked with Corbin on multiple of these developments sort of up the east side of Wisconsin, all the way from Pleasant and Pleasant Prairie, rather, all the way up to Green Bay so far. So, yeah.
Cool.
So I guess
We'll have, if Corbin, if you wouldn't mind, just introducing the concept, because I'm not sure how many commissioners have seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Seven Brew is a drive-through only, beverage only concept. We have opening number 6 actually, on Monday of next week in West Bend, Wisconsin. So we currently have opened Kenosha, Mount Pleasant, Brookfield, Appleton, Bellevue, and then West Bend. Obviously with tonight's meeting, hopefully another one down here in Delavan. And then we also have planned openings in 2 more in the city of Milwaukee, another one in Green Bay, and a handful of others for next year. So, like I said, it's a double drive-through only concept. Beverages only, anywhere from smoothies, shakes, teas, lemonades, energy drinks. Like it was stated earlier, we don't have a menu board. Our motto is cultivate kindness. So what we like to do is have genuine interactions with our customers. So we'll be out there taking orders with iPads, anywhere from 2 to 6. 6 of our employees will be out there and taking orders all the way back in the line. Those orders will be taken by iPads, sent to the inside, and then we make obviously the drinks inside, and then we end up serving both lanes. As you may see a double drive-through concept that bottlenecks down to 1 lane and then serves out of the building. We actually have what we call a lane 2 person that serves the second lane. So we're much more efficient, faster. The menu board thing really slows down other concepts because like, say, for instance, I'm up there and I have all my kids in the car and you're taking orders and I'm waiting on them to say if they want a cheeseburger or a chicken wing and, there's 10 cars behind me that haven't got their order taken. It's so much more faster and efficient. We'll employ anywhere from as low as 50 up to 110 employees at each store. Anywhere from, 4 or 5 up to 12 to 15, depending on how busy it is. And it's, we don't have a script. We don't, we don't wear like a uniform or anything. We allow our employees to be who they are, make genuine interactions with our customers. So, that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
And then why don't you introduce the site?
Yeah.
Then, and,
Certainly.
hold on.
Yep.
Do you only have, sites in Wisconsin?
There's 440 of these open across the country. Myself and Tommy and my other business partner only have the rights to technically the eastern half of Wisconsin.
I was at one in Iowa, I think that's why I asked that question.
Oh, yeah, there's in Cedar Rapids and then Des Moines and Cedar Rapids is open, yep.
And you not had a stacking problem at any of your locations?
No, we started designing these, as you can see that there's quite a bit of stack for this one and, we've kind of over the past 2 years kind of, realized that coffee is a space where, there's opportunity. I mean, you have Starbucks that back up all over the place and causing traffic issues and, with us, designing these sites and going forward, we've made it, I don't think any Starbucks around here has this much stacking. So to answer your question, we don't, because we knew going in that we would probably be pretty busy with how speedy we are.
On C1, on C1, 1A, that one, if I counted it correctly, I counted a 26 car stack
Yep.
too, right?
Yep.
Any other questions? So otherwise I can walk you through the site.
Why don't you walk us through the site? Then?
Okay.
I'm sorry for not.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, so in regards to stacking and queuing, this is one of the larger ones that we've done. So your point was right with the 26, that allows the internal circulation for that layout. So as you can see, it's on the corner here of Geneva Street and Lakeside Boulevard, private road on the south, that's where our connection is. The 20 parking stalls, so everybody's gonna enter, work counterclockwise, through the site. We got the dumpster on the southeast side, the internal connections to match the existing connections that were put there. My guess is part of the overall development master plan. As she indicated, all the setbacks are there. I guess that's kind of the site layout in a nutshell. We have the internal connections to the public right away here. There's a public walk coming off the east. And then there's the internal walk here to get to the dumpster and the parking stalls. And we can come back to any of these if we have further questions.
Just so you guys know, all of this was in our packet.
Sure.
Yes.
Regional stormwater pond. So there's a regional stormwater pond for this development, so this site doesn't need one on site. There's a storm connection on the south side. We're tying in all the storm to that. There's water and sanitary mains on the south side in the green space, which is great. So nobody needs to cut into the road. So the water and sanitary is going to be cut in. And really it's a fairly straightforward site from a grading perspective. It's a beautiful flat vacant site built for this. Landscaping, as she indicated, we'll have trees on all three sides. So we got trees on the north, the east, and the south, and then shrubs and green spaces in the islands in the middle. So that will be an attractive landscaping development for this. Let's see. So the lighting plan here, there's 3 overhead light poles in the center. So those are centered to cast that light to the west and the east. The lighting levels are, in the 1.5s, 3s. So those are sufficient for pedestrian safety. And then they taper out to zeros at the property line. So that will limit the amount of lighting on the outside there. I guess, any questions on the site plan before I go to the building?
One question, you said, is there a patio on there as well?
Oh, very good, sorry.
Yeah.
Right here. Right, yes, it's covered. And so, yes, there's a patio, so this is the store, this is the cooler. And then there's a covered patio here with a picnic table, for employees to rest or
Is that,
pedestrians.
is that for employees or is that for, is someone?
Either way, I mean,
Walk back there?
depending on the site, I doubt there's that much walk-up traffic, at this site, but I mean, in more urban areas, we have people that walk up and come order that you can get an order taken at our door here on this side, and if you wanted to, you could sit on the patio, so it's multi-use. I mean, we have, in Brookfield, we have one that's set up right in front of a hotel. And so they have baseball tournaments and softball and volleyball tournaments, and, you know, they get a lot of walk-up traffic at that site. We have another, you know, our one in Bellevue, Wisconsin has a patio, but it's similar to this site here in Delavan, and it doesn't get much walk-up traffic, but we do have the opportunity. Say there was a group of, you know, families and friends that wanted to come park, they could park, walk up and get an order taken.
Thank you.
Good question. So this would be the front elevation, as you'd see it from the state highway. So this is the front, you got the canopy and the cooler modular brick. With the gray modular brick at the top, the black modular brick at the bottom. Full windows, and then we have our metal trim for the canopy and the top there.
And the construction method for the building?
Yeah, so these buildings are prefabricated
Right.
modular buildings, which is fantastic. I mean,
Right.
technically, you know, the site work, you know, once we get a shovel on the ground, we're usually open within 12 to 14 weeks. Just because of the sheer fact that we don't actually have to build the structure. You'll go in, you'll do, you know, the site grading, run utilities, pour your foundations, and once the foundations are poured, we will have 3 semi trucks come and we'll have a crane day. They'll pick up the main building itself, drop it on the foundation. Then we call this like the muffin top that comes, drops on the top. And then we have the cooler building that gets lifted off, and then the canopy structure is built once all that is in place.
Thank you.
This will be the rear. This is what we'll see from the south. So again, same materials surrounding the site, doors in the back. On the top is the mechanicals with the access doors for maintenance on that. And then the elevations will be from the side here. So this is what we see from the side in the elevations here. So this is with the cooler right here. You can see how well the cooler blends in. And then here will be, east side.
Yep.
And then this will be the west side here for this side. That's what you see from the east and the west.
Both lanes are serviced out of that door.
So hold on a second. This is all east,
Okay.
this in picture, sorry. This one is the west side. So
Okay.
they'll come around the east
Yeah.
side and then come facing, like going towards the back. And they'll get served out of both of these. This door will service lane 1. This door will come out and service lane 2.
Thank you.
You're gonna be operating year long.
Yeah.
So in winter months too.
Yes.
And then this is the material board, so that's the modular brick that you're seeing up close. With the blue metal panels and the coping trim gray panels.
Other questions about design?
I will.
So I have one question, two additional questions for you guys. One, start timing if we approve tonight.
So I currently have the property under contract. Obviously, I'm not closing until we,
Right.
you know, this, so, depending on how soon we close. My GC has already bid the project, so I mean, I'd love to, you know, if we could pull an erosion control permit and a building permit. At least an erosion control permit, I'd love to, you know, start work in 2 weeks, 3
Yeah.
weeks, as soon as possible.
And the second question was, there's a point in your that's made in our staff memo that there's no signage request because your long-term view is that on building signage is all you're gonna need.
Yeah, and unless, I mean, if we have the ability, with the highway traffic, I wouldn't mind looking at the monument sign, potentially in the future.
Yeah.
But I mean, as it sets today, it's pretty visible at that corner right now.
Right.
But I would like the option, in the future. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We'll now continue, if there's any comments from anyone in the audience representing interested public parties. Okay, hearing none, I would, then close the public hearing record and the hearing. And move to item 4.2, which is reviewing possible recommendations of the common council regarding a request to consider a planned infill development amendment to the official zoning map for a step 4 precise implementation plan for the property located at 1738 East Geneva Street between the interstate and Lakeside Boulevard, part of tax parcel XA 4871-2 in the manufacturing light zoning district to allow for an in-vehicle sales or service land use drive-through applicant, Mill Brew Holdings. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to recommend common council approval of the PIP for the property located at 1738 East Geneva Street to allow for an in-vehicle sales or service land use, including the findings as listed under the required findings by the planning commission section and any additional conditions and approval recommended by staff or the planning commission.
Is there a second?
I second that.
Does anyone have any additional conditions? Hearing none, we'll move to discussion. Any comments? Yes, ma'am.
Looks good to me.
Okay, if you guys don't mind, I have one question, and that has to do with the, and I would ask Mark to come up, and it has to do with the exit onto Freedom Drive. Okay, so my only, so ultimately, as there's more development down there, Freedom Drive's gonna, and that intersection is gonna have to get reworked, right? Because it's right now one lane and the left lane and turn. And that exit is intended at this point for both right-handed and left-handed turns, right?
Their driveway is in and out, yes.
Yes, but I mean, from the exit, it is intended to service both left and right-hand turns.
Correct, but if there were cars stacked up, we had this discussion staff wise, if there were cars stacked up on Freedom Drive waiting to make the left to go back out to Highway 50. Someone that was leaving the Seven Brew location could turn and go through the Burger King and sneak out that way.
Right, and so I just think we need to acknowledge that at some point that there may well be a median in the middle of that road. So this is the reason I've raised this is Highway 50 is historically is a perfect example in the city of Delavan where exiting the Hardee's and the McDonald's used to be left and right exits out of those, and because of increases in traffic across time and the curb median put in, they were directed to exit. The left and right exit flexibility was lost, so we just need to recognize that ultimately that could take place here, right?
In the private drive, that's correct, yes,
Okay,
because Freedom Drive is privately owned.
right, but we will have stipulations about what has to happen to that drive at some point if the traffic becomes.
Unattainable.
Yeah, from future, okay. Okay. And then I do think there's a question that we might as well talk about right now, which is, relates to 6.1 and the site plan for here, because 6.1 is the CSM that's required to allow these guys to buy that lot. And there's just one thing about the access point on that drive that I want to clarify now on that CSM. And do you want me to state the problem or?
Sure.
Okay, so via your site plan, I think that, and I did this roughly 49.3 feet from the property line plus 14.7 feet, half of the dumpster pad puts us roughly 64 feet of, from the apron to the corner of the lot line, I think. The CSM calls for that exit entrance to be 70 feet. And so we've just got a 6-foot problem. I don't.
And I believe we based the 70 feet on the site plan, measuring it to the driveway as it crossed the property line.
Okay, so not the apron.
Correct.
Okay, cool, thanks. Any other comments? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is item number 5, public hearing review and possible recommendation for Harbor Club at Lake Lawn LLC. A public hearing, 5.1 is a public hearing on a request to consider the planned infill development step 4 precise implementation plan at 2400 East Geneva Street, part of tax parcel XA 49851, located in the manufacturing light zoning district with the shoreland overlay to allow for residential development across along the North Shore Drive portion of Lake Lawn Resort Golf Course. The applicant is Harbor Club at Lake Lawn LLC. With that said, I'm going to open the public hearing. Mark, you want to?
This was published in the paper, with the understanding that the application would be ready for this meeting. Unfortunately, it was not ready, so staff jumped the gun with the notice. If the plan commission was so willing, our recommendation would be to continue the public hearing until the August meeting.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public who are here to address this matter? Hearing none, motion would be in order to continue the public hearing to August 4th, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
There being a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The next item is item 6.1, consider a 2-lot land division request by certified survey map for 1738 East Geneva Street. Mark?
In front of you is a proposed land division, which would align with the 7 brew application that you've just reviewed. Staff had 3 suggestions for this certified survey map. One was that the line between the lots be darker to clearly define where the actual lot line is. And also the access, limited access to Highway 50 and Lakeside, and the section of Freedom Drive as the chairman had noted. And then also the staff request would be for some additional right-of-way dedication at the intersection of Lakeside and East Geneva Street for some planned improvements that the DOT has for the ADA sidewalks in that corner.
Okay.
You guys,
I'll ask you a specific question, but do you want to come up and talk about?
Right, so I believe that markup was 40 feet by 40 feet, roughly, or whatever that the ADA walk's gonna be. To clarify the 70-foot restriction. So I just did the math on this. That was this plus the dumpster plus this pad puts us right at the driveway right here. That was 81 feet.
Okay, good.
So that's past that 70 foot.
And I was measuring to the apron edge.
No, understood.
Okay, yep.
So so that gets us 81 feet to the actual driveway. So that gets us past that 70 foot. And yeah, we can make the lot lines bolder.
And you guys are comfortable with the dedication,
Of this quarter?
right?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Any other questions concerning this? Okay. Thank you. I would entertain a motion on the matter.
Make a motion to recommend the common council approval of the proposed two lot CS7 division for the property at 1738 East Geneva Street as prepared by Ryan Joe Green dated June 5th, 2025, provided that one, the line density for the south line of lot 1 be increased to clearly identify the property line location. Two, plat depict no access onto the lake, Lakeside Boulevard, nor within 70 feet of the lakeside and Freeway Drive intersection. Three, plat dedicate a certain amount of public right of way at the northeast corner of lot 1 for planned upgrades to the public sidewalks.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There being a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Alondra, is that opposed or?
Oh,
Aye.
yeah, like, yes.
Sorry. But in favor of the motion, thank you. Yeah. Motion carries. Let's move to item 6.2, consider a 3-lot land division request by certified survey map for 235 South 7th Street. Mark?
I can get it started. What you have in front of you is a proposed redivision of the existing properties that are there. The applicant is here. If you have any specific questions as to how this 3-lot division is being proposed,
You want to talk about your recommendations?
we can do that.
Okay.
Because right now there is this, what's now shown on the land division as lot 1 was subject to a land contract between the city and 2 different purchasers. So the recommendation would be is that those language would stay with this approval for this land division. That was part of the city's sale of that property a couple of years ago, 2022 actually, so. And there's also the conditional use permit that there's an existing conditional use permit for the Hunters location. So that would stay in effect as well.
Could you clarify those provisions again? What goes with the land? I think the building has to be completed, is that correct?
The current, what's shown as lot 1 has a restriction on land contract that has to have a building constructed, but I believe the end of this year.
Was there also a condition he was supposed to put a fence up also?
Not that I'm aware of. That would have been part of the conditional use permit, which they have not yet applied for. Because to operate either to operate a automobile repair or a car sales will need a conditional use permit.
Okay. Before I have one question about this, so, I understand the reason why we want to, separate lot 1, right? I don't understand why lot 2 and 3 have to exist and why we can't just save step.
Perfect question. So Attorney Brian Shook, I represent the owners of both lots 2 and, part of 1 and 2 and 3. So the plan was the problem is that where Hunters currently sits, the building itself is actually owned by a partnership.
Right.
The L is owned by Hunters. And so the plan is, because of his family, to merge the two and to consolidate those. This has to happen first.
Okay.
And then we are gonna do a lot line adjustment, bringing them together.
Okay.
And make it basically 2 parcels there, lot 1 and then another one. Bring it together.
So eventually what's shown as lot 2 and 3 will be a single
A
parcel.
single parcel.
Okay, so there's one other question I have, and that is that the purpose listed on the application was for transfer of ownership. So can you explain why this is necessary for transfer of ownership?
Sure. Sand Street Properties owns the land that the Hunters Services is actually on. Tommy Purcell owned Hunters and was a partner in the land itself. Now, after Tommy's passing, his daughter is the owner, daughter needs to consolidate that. Mom is also the other partner is part of the land, so they're bringing that all together as one. To transfer that, it needs to be divided up because Delavan Auto Body is part of the land contract. And we're not interested, as hunters, we're not interested in that additional land. Delavan Auto Body is. And so that's why it's being split off, so that they can continue to do the operation they had a plan for. And hunters can operate the facility as it was planning on operating.
But just to clarify, the transfer of ownership is effectively the transfer of the, let's just call it Purcell et al., right? Of their interest in the contract.
The transfer of ownership I think you're thinking of is gonna be separating the vendees on the land contract from being 2 to 1.
Right.
Yeah, so Auto Body will be the owner of lot 1. Hunters will be the owner of lots 2 and 3.
And it's not exactly Auto Body, right? Because they're individuals.
I don't think I have the land contract in front of me.
I think we do. So. Well,
I
the
thought it-
addendum was signed by, I see, purchaser Hunters by Tommy and purchaser Delavan Auto Body by Andre.
Yeah,
Okay,
yes,
got it. Okay,
I think it's both LLCs.
right. Got it. Thank you. Any other questions here? Can I have a motion on 6.2? Matt, you're doing great.
Yes.
Make a motion to recommend common council approval of those 3-lot CSM land division for the property at 135 South 7th Street. As prepared by Christopher A. Hodges, last revised 5/1/2025, provided that the current deed restrictions agreed to as part of the 2022 land contract remain in place, with a principal structure needing to be completed on lot 1 property by December 1st, 2025. Or the lot 1 property shall be returned to the city at no cost. 2, and that any and all conditional use permits either previously issued or to be leased be issued for any of the 3 lots need to be complied with. 3, that the plat identify the no access within 75 feet of the Ann and 7th Street intersections per the 2002 CUP. Or that the plat correctly identify the public right of way purchased in the 2014 at the Ann and 7th Streets intersection. 5, the Walworth County signature section is removed and the county septic tank note be removed from each of the 4 pages.
Is there a second?
Second that.
There being a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on to item number 6.3. Consider an extension request of the required site improvement for the approved planned infill development at 207 through 325 South Wright Street, tax parcel XA 4527-2. Located in the business regional zoning district with a wellhead protection overlay. Applicant Star Delavan LLC. Mark, do you want to explain this or do you want us to make a motion?
I can run it through. These were requirements from this planned infill development for the indoor storage. They're having some issues completing a couple of these with getting their contractors lined up, and I've asked for a extension of time to complete those last items.
So can I ask you a question, guys? Just to clarify, the memo said that staff had been in conversations with the owner and the contractor,
Yes.
trying to come up with an adequate plan.
We've
You
got,
just said
we've got the plan, they're just, yes,
that they were having trouble finding a contractor.
for the lighting, they're having issues with the lighting, the underground for the storm sewer contractor is, out of Elkhorn, I can't think of the name.
Okay, and how would we characterize? How would we characterize the delay? Is it understandable with clear effort of making progress, or is it?
For electrical parts, yes, with trying to order things lately has been, I can understand getting deliveries. The storm sewer issue has been trying to figure out all the utilities that are in the alleyway to the rear of the buildings. So it's a utility conflict, underground conflict.
Okay. Other questions? Your guys' recommendation is to provide them with more time.
Yes,
Okay,
How much more time? Do you have any idea?
it was in their request for,
through September 30th.
I believe they specified.
I wasn't even able to see it.
Here, September 30th, 2025 to complete 7
Last and final extension. Okay.
I'm good with that too.
Huh?
Last and final, yeah.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the extension for site improvements to September 30th, 2025.
Is there a second?
Second motion.
There being a motion or second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll now move to item 6.4. Consider Town of Darien requested land use amendment at W7549 Creek Road to allow for commercial zoning.
including your packet is a notice that the city received that the town of Darien will be holding a public hearing at the end of this month. To consider a recommendation to the county board for a change to the county comprehensive plan on this one parcel on Creek Road. This proposed commercial use would not be in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan use for the areas along Creek Road, especially as close as this is to the school and adjacent church uses, institutional uses. So the recommendation from staff would be that the city officially provide a letter to the township prior to their public hearing stating our opposition to this request.
Do we just, you just send him a letter, or does someone also represent the city at the public hearing?
I would also be attending the hearing.
Did they have the copy of the city's comprehensive plan prior to making this recommendation?
Well, the township hasn't made a recommendation at this point, as they've only gotten a petition from the property owner. So this is the first step in their review.
Property. Yes,
And
got it.
And I would like to clarify, do we have a multi-jurisdictional zoning agreement with the town?
We do not.
We do not. Okay. So all we can do in this case is object,
Right.
right? And I mean, because we have no extraterritorial control, right?
I believe the school district will also be objecting as well.
Um,
Well, that's combined. So
So-
definitely
Right.
this process.
I just want to clarify one thing, because, this is the town of Darien. The parcel at the, on the west side of town. That, that used to be owned by Charlie Spooner, right? We were asked by the county to agree to that separation because it was in our extraterritorial area.
Was it a land division?
Yeah. Why, and I'm, this is an educational question, Jackie, that's all, yeah.
That was a farm separation.
It was a double farm separation, if you remember.
Yeah, because they had land on both sides of the fruit highway.
Right.
No, that's a land division, which we have extraterritorial plat approval. So when it's a land division, we have rights and
Yes.
the ability to object to that and have I'll say a vote in the process.
Mhm.
Zoning, we do not.
Okay, great. So you guys wanna, to recommend, the objection, right?
That would be my recommended staff.
And I just wanna clarify it myself too. They're trying to make that like a commercial lot and its parcel was single family, is that what I'm understanding?
It's currently in the town of Darien. It's under county zoning. It's currently zoned for residential use.
And is that lot they're putting that big pole barn on right now?
It's already built, yes. And
Oh,
we say cart and horse.
Sorry about that.
so now he was just planning on using it as a shop for plumbing or something, right?
We don't know. It's not our permits, not our review.
So it wasn't like he was building a house there and using that as building that massive thing as a shop too.
If that's what he was doing, that would probably be allowed. I mean, even on our zoning, you'd have to have a conditional use permit if it was over so many square feet, but if it was a home use, that's allowed.
So, you okay?
Yeah, I was a little. I was just making sure I clarified, because I, looking at the maps, obviously, it's
Right.
doesn't show that building, and I do remember.
Okay, so, we have a motion,
Make a motion to recommend that the city council submit a written objection to the town of Darien prior to the July 29th public hearing. As the proposed amendment is not in alignment with the city of Delavan's comprehensive plan.
I second that.
any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll now move on to item 6.5. Go ahead, Jackie.
Right. Andy, are you comfortable advancing my slides for me? Wonderful, okay. Thank you. We've had a few developers inquire about development, single family development in the city. Seeking lot sizes that are smaller than the city's standard lot size. And this is something that we're seeing as a trend throughout the state, as housing costs have gone up. Developers are looking for more cost-effective ways to develop. And I thought it would be helpful, before we have a developer at the table with a specific project, I thought it'd be helpful to introduce the topic to the planning commission, share some examples that we've seen in our work across the state. And just, this is no action to be taken at this, on this item, just information sharing and help us understand how we want to advise developers should they come forward with concepts such as this. So next slide, please. So, I think new housing is something that the city has long encouraged. There are several benefits associated with new housing. I'm sure you could come up with a different list if you wanted to, but some pretty obvious ones include tax-based growth. So as we see new neighborhoods develop, that supports the city's tax base. New population growth, depending on the type of housing that we're seeing, it could support turnover. So, existing residents move into these new homes, it creates homes available for new Delavan residents. All of that supports, the bottom line for the city. Additionally, there could be local benefits such as increase in school district enrollment. I know in conversations with the school district, their enrollment is down and they're looking to see some recovery in that growth. Additionally, if you want to see some level of population growth in your community to support your business base, support your employment and your employers, have workforce for your employers. Next slide, please. So I took a quick look at what we're kind of terming the affordability gap when it comes to new construction. So if you're a typical, I should say a median household income in Delavan is $71,000 per year. So that could be one person making about 71,000. It could be two-person household with making about half that each. And depending on which online mortgage calculator you use, you get a range of what that household could theoretically afford in terms of a home. That could range from about $663,000 on the low end to upwards of $223,000. So that's kind of your budget for a new home, or any home, I should say. Now, when you compare that with what's being built in Delavan, or as you are all aware, we're seeing kind of a range of different things being built here in Delavan. I just popped onto Zillow last week to see, the day I checked Zillow, the Glen Oaks subdivision was showing homes ranging from 339,000 and up, Arbor Ridge even higher, from 495 and up. And then, of course, as we all know, the Harvard Club homes are, I would say, outside of the affordability range for a median income household here in Delavan. But this isn't to say people in Delavan can't afford to live in Delavan, because certainly we're seeing lower price points for existing homes. But if you're in the market for a new home, if your household is earning median income, those homes may be out of reach for the typical household. And so many communities are looking at ways to find lower cost homes. I think many you probably observed in your own, with your family members and such, that starter homes are hard to come by. They kind of don't exist anymore. Like a new starter home that's affordable to a median household or below is really are not being built anymore. Next slide, please. So one reason for that, and I'm sure members of this commission could add some additional reasons as well, is just that we're seeing costs across the board rise quite a bit. This has been particularly acute since the pandemic, but it's been a long trend for years and years now. We're seeing finished lot costs rise, build costs rise, construction costs are still rising. You know, we've seen some leveling off since the pandemic, but they're still up year over year. Interest rates, again, they've leveled off a bit, but they're still higher than they were when I bought my house 5 years ago. All of this influences what housing costs and how much a given household can afford. Next slide, please. So what many communities are looking at smaller lots as one possible way to try to address the affordability gap, particularly for new construction. Smaller lots do come with some advantages. They help advance the concept of traditional neighborhood development. I don't know if that's a term you've all seen in your recent years, but basically traditional neighborhood development is sort of a return to the pre-war development patterns before the automobile was.
War?
Second World War. But in some places in Delavan, probably before the First World War too. So these are neighborhoods that were developed where maybe the household had no car, maybe they had one car. And you, as I'm sure you've seen walking through the older parts of Delavan, you're seeing smaller lots, you're seeing smaller setbacks, very walkable neighborhoods. Usually there's a park and a school within walking distance. Those neighborhoods often are characterized by front porches and just a lot more pedestrian oriented and less car oriented than those post-war subdivisions that you've seen here in Delavan and in other places across the state. So smaller lots help achieve that objective. They can support affordable homes, relative affordability. So for example, if you have a 20-acre development parcel, if you're sharing those upfront infrastructure costs to develop that parcel across more homes, that, you know, per unit, you're gonna have a lower infrastructure cost. So that, when I say infrastructure cost, I'm talking about utilities, building a road, any other engineering costs. If you have more lots in that neighborhood, you're sharing those costs across more units. Another something that else that smaller lots can provide is just another option for homeowners, right? So you could have a neighborhood, and I think you'll see this in some of these development proposals that may be coming forward, where we have a range of different lot sizes, the larger lots, smaller lots, medium-sized lots. All of these can be designed to meet different housing markets. So whether it's a empty nester family or a growing family that needs more bedrooms, having a range of different lot sizes and different home sizes is an asset in any new neighborhood. Not only does that accommodate several different lifestyles and price points and household types in a neighborhood. Just more of a practical matter for the developer, it helps, those lots sell faster because they have multiple different products in the same neighborhood. And so they're selling to different markets at the same time, so it helps them, move the lots faster, which in turn helps reduce their costs as well. So smaller lots can be kind of a successful part of the puzzle within an established neighborhood, or within a diverse new neighborhood. Next slide, please. So just as a comparison, I wanted to take a look at your smaller RS5 zoning district. This is the zoning district just south, mostly south of the downtown in Delavan. That zoning district has a minimum lot size of 8,000 square feet and a minimum lot width of 66 feet. And then you'll see the setbacks are 25 feet, 10 feet and 20. When I talk about a smaller single family lot, typically we're looking at 6,000 square feet. Some communities you might go even smaller, and many communities that we work in, there's a standard 7,200 square foot lot, single family lot. That's kind of the standard for single family lots. So as you can see on the slide, a hypothetical single family lot or a single family district with a 6,000 square foot minimum lot size would have a narrower lot width of about 60 feet. And the setbacks would be a bit smaller as well. We'll come back to this slide, but I just wanted to show you kind of what the change might be between your smallest zoning district now and then a hypothetical small lot single family district. Question?
Yeah, I just want to do some math here for a second.
Okay.
So, if it's a 6,000 square foot lot with a 60-foot lot width,
Yes.
implies 100-foot lot depth, right?
Mhm.
Which would mean, and 45 feet of front and rear setback and 12 feet of two side setbacks would generate available building space of 2,640 square feet.
I haven't done that math in a while, but that sounds about
just
right.
did, But I mean, so
That's a great point. So
that would include garage, right, if there is one.
Yes.
So,
yes, and we would expect
right,
for that house to be marketable, we'd expect a garage.
so it's not, what we're not talking about here is small houses in the new vote.
Thank you. Yes, it's a great point. Typically, tiny house, I think we see different definitions, but 600 square, 800 square feet or less, something like that. This is not what we're talking about. We've seen with this type of single family district, we've seen houses typically average 1,500 square feet, which is bigger than my house. So it's a smaller lot. The lot's going to be more built out compared to a more conventional suburban type lot, but they are not tiny homes by any stretch. And I've got a diagram that shows this later in the presentation.
Jackie, did I hear you say that? I hate to use the word typical because it's confusing me. That an average lot size now is more like 7,200 square feet?
In many of our communities, the most common single family zoning district has a 7,200 square foot minimum lot size.
But are you proposing a 6,000 as opposed to 7,200?
I think the city could certainly look at both. I think based on the proposals we were hearing from developers, they were looking at the 6,000 square foot lot size, which is why I wanted to show you what that would look like.
That's pretty understandable. You're trying to bang as much out of the buck as they can.
I think that's definitely a factor, but that being said, I don't think it's necessarily a bad format. I can show you a few examples from some places we've.
I would just like,
Yeah.
but I mean, as long as we're in discussion mode, I would encourage members to respect the presentation, but we should feel free to discuss among ourselves too. But I think the other thing, Will, is it's also response by builders to to what can they sell? And at what price point? So it's not just them saying, I want as many dwellings on X amount of space, right? It's also how much, you know, how many, at what price can I sell it? And consequently, how do I maximize my profit selling at that price point, pushes them into some of these questions too.
They haven't had any problem selling the houses as well, folks.
I was just going to mention that, not, your comments notwithstanding,
Yeah.
they're not having any trouble selling houses
No,
with the lot sizes that we currently have.
but the side setback of 6 feet, I know that's the minimum, not exactly what they're gonna build. But 6 foot sidewalk is just not even the works, to tell you the truth. It needs to be 10 feet, and even if the lot was 6,000 square feet, you could still make the side setback 10 feet without affecting the builder's house that he's gonna build. So,
Well, I mean, my point is, so if that left, if her math left 2,640 square feet of buildable area, that's single floor. Okay, buildable area.
yeah,
There's certainly, and what they're building is 1,800 square foot plus garage, I mean. Or 1,800 foot total, there definitely is flexibility for a 60-foot wide lot to have larger side setbacks. Bruce.
that was my point.
Right.
I'm not sure in a couple was 6,000 square feet, but,
Well, part of the issue too, of the price point, is we lack enough what they call workforce housing. That is people, like they said, so like you said, small families, people just getting into the workforce. That are making maybe that less than $71,000 per household, or at that $71,000 per household. They need a smaller price, they need a lower price point to be able to get into a house. And right now, they're just not, there's nothing around.
Yeah, but the size isn't necessarily gonna drive the price point. Price point is gonna be whatever the developer's gonna get. So they're gonna maximize the resource and that's land.
Not if you have a developer who's expressly saying their goal is to put in workforce housing.
Price point's gonna be driven by what somebody's willing to buy. And or what they can afford to buy.
you go from here to Rock County,
Right.
you can buy twice the house, and you can change what you can buy in Delavan,
Once you build something like that's.
3/4 of the price, if not less.
Okay.
And so I think the price is, what's driving the prices is some availability of housing, of course.
Right,
Not necessarily the cost of the house.
go ahead, Jeff.
So these are two different neighborhoods I wanted to share with you. This is the Oaks of Jackson in Jackson, Wisconsin, that's in Washington County. Another time I can tell you all about the Washington County's Next Generation Housing Program, in which the county's actually helping put money into the price of a lot to bring down that cost, and they actually have fixed price points for participating in that program. But even if you don't have a program like that in place, I think the design of this neighborhood is something worth looking at. If you could take us to the next slide, please. This is a neighborhood, another one of those neighborhoods, as I mentioned, that has a range of different housing types within a given neighborhood. Just gonna come over here for a second. So we've got 6,000 square foot lots in the center of this neighborhood. These lots are about 7,000 square feet. These corner lots, I think, are closer to 20,000 and above. So we've got kind of a range of different price points and lot sizes just in the single family alone. Additionally, we have several alley loaded single family. These are on even narrower lot widths than what we were talking about on the previous slide. This neighborhood, as you can see, also includes townhomes, also alley loaded twin homes or duplexes, and then townhomes on the west side of the neighborhood. So I think this is a nice example because it shows how those smaller lots can fit into a neighborhood. It's not everything in the neighborhood. It's just one piece of the puzzle. If you could just scroll to the next slide, these are just some photos. This neighborhood's currently under construction. So some of it looks a little messy. You'll see some of those yards need to be seeded still in some of these photos. But this is kind of the southern rim of the neighborhood, those 7,000 square foot lot sizes. You can keep scrolling. And we can come back to these if anyone wants to look more closely. So this is what a house on a 7,000 or 6,000 square foot lot might look like.
Okay, let's just, so like that. Jack, do you have knowledge of what the pricing is on the house on the right?
Well, so this is a situation in which the county has established maximum cap on the homes, and the county's contributing, I think, $20,000 to bring that price of the home down, plus other factors went into that, but the cap is 75% of the homes in this neighborhood are priced at 320,000 or less, and the rest are 420 or less.
So when the county puts a cap in place, what's to stop somebody from buying a number of houses and then renting them?
They have deed restrictions in place for that exact situation. They had many conversations on how to address that, and that's what they came up with.
Thank you.
Okay, keep scrolling, please. Just a few more of few more homes in the neighborhood. The whole alley loaded area I alluded to before, has not been constructed.
Yes, surely.
Hold on just a second, go ahead, we'll share that with the holder.
I say it's pretty selective camera angles there. You don't actually show between the houses. You're showing a nice big green wall.
Yeah. That wasn't intentional. I think we were just trying to get more houses in the frame. But we could get some images for you guys.
Thank you.
This is a worthy discussion to continue, so.
This I'm just showing you, in this neighborhood, they want to preserve some historic older oak trees, so there's actually a little area where they preserve the trees and put a little path through there. And here you can kind of, it's not great, we could take some better ones, but you can see the spacing between the homes. The next neighborhood, this one is a bit older. This is Grandview Commons on the east side of Madison. This is another neighborhood that includes a range of single family and multifamily housing formats. This block on the west side, the image on the left side of your screen shows 59-foot width lots. These are 59 by 100. And that was the concept plan that was developed on the left side. The aerials show what it looked like under construction, and that the most recent Google aerial. And you could see, and you could probably zoom in on your iPads to see how close it appears, but those would have 6 foot minimum side setbacks as well. You go to the next slide, please. I unfortunately didn't have time to get out there, so this is just this 3D view as viewed from Google Street View, so you can see the spacing between the houses there. Go and come back to any of these, or if you want to stop and pause, just let me know. These are images from Street View. You can tell they're from Street View because they're a little wonky, but I think it gives you the idea.
There's a good one.
Yeah,
Well,
we pause
Yeah,
here.
I just blew that one up and kind of shows you the area between the houses.
They are close together.
It's basically 6 feet if it's that.
well, it's 6 on each line, so 12. Right?
Correct.
And Andy, can you expand that?
I can do it for you. It's,
We've already done that here.
oh,
I was just doing it for the benefit of the audience.
The little eave panels and the waiver.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah, that's,
that's perfect.
thank you.
it's in the packet.
I hate that.
Right.
Starts on fire.
Yeah, the unfortunate placement of that light pole, I was frustrated by that, but that's what a lot line would be,
That is
right?
probably up.
It's not in a driveway.
Oh, yeah, it's great placement for probably utilities, which is probably important to that. So here's the diagram I mentioned previously, and again, this is just a district that we've done in other communities. If this is something, if you wanted to look at increased side setbacks or any other changes, this is certainly adjustable. And before I get into this, I should say too, that one way to achieve a 6,000 square foot lot would be to adopt a new zoning district that allows for this type of lot. The other way would be to do a planned infill development to allow for flexibility for lot sizes, and we would adopt something kind of like this for that need. So I think Commissioner Armstrong covered a lot of this, but as you can see, there's the building envelope there. I calculated it at 1,400. That seems low. I'm gonna look at that again. But but these all include garages, 100-foot lot depth, and then we have additional side lot line setbacks on the corner lots.
You know, do we know how big that house is on the left?
I think 1,400, but I'm gonna check that.
And what my math's not that good, but what a 100-foot lot can,
Yeah, it's not labeled, but we
6 foot,
can
12
do
foot.
that.
So it's 18. 5.
42.
Jackie, most of these would be two-story, correct?
Yeah, this would just be the footprint, not the livable area. Yeah, thank you, Mark, that's where that's coming from.
Or the basement.
Can't count this.
You can, if it's got egress, you have egress with a 6-foot setback on the side.
Mhm. And I would advise, I know there's been talk about, I've heard talk in other communities about waiving requirements for basements, but my recommendation would be to have basements.
Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh yeah, here's the same slide again, I just thought with that, we might wanna look at that again. I think I've got maybe one more slide. 2 more slides. So this topic was alluded to by a few of you already. But something that's really critical as these lot sizes get smaller and these lot widths get narrower. There's fewer options for builders in terms of floor plans and elevations, and so. Design is critical, and it's something that I would never just blankly approve a. Single family neighborhood with 6,000 square foot lots without any sort of design control. Because what tends to happen is they just plop the garage on the front, put the front door at the back. And it just becomes a garage city.
So you would say top is preferred, bottom is to be avoided, right?
That would be, yeah, that was my intention with those photos. But you know, I'll show you some photos when I get to the next slide. Some of those are a little more in the middle. But I guess generally principles is that we want to limit the amount of garage on the front, whether that means we're limiting how much it can project or for a requirement to be behind the main plane of the facade. Maybe limiting the percentage of the facade that the garage can take up, just to ensure that we still look like houses and not garages that people happen to live in. Want to see the front door oriented to the sidewalk whenever possible. We really need to see architectural features that make this look like a house, and it is a house. So front porches, you can see the different color brackets, and details on that upper image, whereas that's really lacking on the lower image. We need to see, and I mean, any home in Delavan, we want to see high quality building materials, this would be no exception. And other details like trimmed window and doors, thoughtful placement of side windows, so if those homes are closer together, working with the builder to develop floor plans so that people aren't looking into each other's bedrooms. It's pretty easy to avoid with just shaking up those floor plans within the neighborhood. And then also, you know, as we look at actual development proposals, we'll be looking carefully at where's planned open space and parks for these residents, because it's never the intention to just like load up a development parcel with 6,000 square foot lots with no open space and no place for people to gather. Okay, here's a couple other examples I had of just varying success you can have with small single family. I think this large photo is a great one, good example. And just shows the importance of those architectural details in a nice building product. All right, so one maybe, yes, so affordability, I think we touched on this a bit, but lower price points isn't guaranteed. You certainly can chart, the market's gonna, you know, charge whatever they think they can get. I think you will be able to garner a lower amount for a smaller lot as compared to something in like along the lakefront, for example. So without some sort of agreement with the developer, you don't really know what these lots are going to sell for. But naturally, they're just going to be smaller homes and smaller lots and will command a lower price. Whether that's the price that you want is not really guaranteed. And then, as I said before, there's existing homes in the city that are going to come in at lower price points than any new construction. So just wanted to make sure we didn't pray about that.
Oh,
So I'll pause there. I think that's my last slide.
so, comments?
In these other communities, how condensed or restricted is traffic flow, parking, vehicles, guests? Any of that?
Yeah, so in most of in the neighborhoods I worked on, we have done, you know, we haven't had any exceptions for parking, so they all have 2-car garages, they can all accommodate parking in the driveway. And so there's no increased impact for street parking than there would be in any other neighborhood. Typically, you could also look at a narrower street width with limited parking on the street. That's just kind of an independent variable of what the size of the lots are, so it's something you could look at. But there's no, having a smaller lot size wouldn't require you to have a smaller, or reduce the amount of parking available on street.
Other comments? I think one thing, related to, streetscape is, all of these pictures were kind of taken during development periods prior to humans moving in. And, you know, all you have to do is drive down any of our newer developments, and one of the things you're gonna see is, people, whether they're the most affordable homes that are being built new now, or the next level up. I'm not talking about, by the lake. Toys, are playing a larger role in the streetscape and in the neighborhoods. And one of my concerns about this is all you have to do is look at the number of trailer boats presently parked in driveways or alongside garages. And I think we need to think through that issue, because it seems to be something in our municipality that is commonplace, the desire for that kind of amenity, a space to put that stuff. Secondly, I think, clearly from just listening to the discussion, major levels of concern are about getting to the shrink level, your 6,000 level, right? And I think I heard we would look at smaller lot sizes, but probably not that small. But one of the key elements, I think, from a quality of life standpoint, I heard from the commission, were one thing that I think we're deeply sensitive about is side setbacks. Is that fair?
I would say that's very fair. I still want us to be a small welcoming community. I don't want to be a community where houses are built right next to each other so everybody can. I want it to still look like a small community, not a suburb development of Chicago. We still have our own identity here, and I have a problem with setbacks that want to be at 6 feet. Now they were 6 feet in, but you put a little landscaping beside the house on everybody wood to make it look presentable. And you'll hardly be able to pass a lawnmower between the side lot, the lot line and your landscaping. So I have a problem with sidewalks. The front side back, I mean, you have 25 to 20 to 25 on the 6,000. I can see where a 20-foot setback would work if you had the conditions on the garage sizes, what's presentable to the street. I can certainly discuss smaller lot sizes, but not 6,000 square feet. I think that's too small.
So like, right now, our existing smaller lot sizes are presently covered under the table. Right, and so right now, I had to look at that bulk table for another matter. We're 12 for 7,000 square foot lot roughly. I mean, under 8,000, okay, we're at 25, 12.
You're not at the setback.
Yeah. And so, That's where we are right now, Bruce, which sounds like to me, you could maybe push it to Scotia, but only if the garage was figured out correctly. But from side to side, I think we would be reluctant to push them closer together. Is that your thought too?
I don't like condensing. Body stacking houses, and then to do that, they should
That's
actually-
a legitimate concern.
Right,
because once they're there, that's it, that land is locked. If you're gonna put up high rises or other things like that, that's a much better use if you're gonna be trying to find. Opportunities for people to, you know, in a condensed fashion.
right.
I don't think that's a wise use of land.
Yeah, and then the other element that I have some concern about is, I think it's a positive amenity that many of these communities end up with green spaces and stuff like that, but it kind of works against what we're saying the developers need, which is to have smaller lot sizes so that they can put more homes in it.
Tiny
And
homes.
Huh?
Tiny homes.
Right, and then green space, so I think there's some kind of balance that needs to be. Because the green space turns into the drainage area in some that I've seen and stuff like that, that doesn't become usable to the neighbors. Any other comments? So. We recognize the need. Housing. And
Good
I
conversation.
think would be willing on a case by case to try to figure it out, right? Instead of adding additional RS small, I'm just gonna call it at this point, right? Is that fair?
I'm comfortable with our current standard.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Mark, do we have a 7?
We do not.
Okay. So we don't have a building and zoning report, we'll move to adjourn, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
There being a motion to adjourn, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Bye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Do a time actually.